All right. Sorry about the little bit of a late start. I had a few extra things I wanted to set up for this stream. But we're now ready to go. So today, it's kind of hard to see. I'm going to be working on a Chaos Knight Wardog. I currently have it in a bunch of pieces. Yeah, mostly because I'm planning on using an airbrush on a lot of it. So this makes it easier to work with the airbrush without having to mask everything off. And I don't have to worry about overspray. But the goal is to get it to look at least somewhat like this guy here. This is a model that I painted up for a painting contest, and yeah, I'm going to be trying to replicate a similar scheme onto this model here. I'm also going to pull up some pictures here so you can see what my inspiration is. But let's see here. So you should be able to see a picture on the upper left-hand corner of the screen. This is the original scheme. This is the scheme that I based my large knight off of, and you can see I took that scheme and made the blues more vibrant because I like a more vibrant blue. And also I added like the hazard stripes, and I made the kind of the lights and the glowing effects pink instead of, I think they use red or orange in this. So this is the kind of the original army theme for these guys. And then I also found this image. So these are the Imperial counterparts. Sorry, that was my airbrush recompressing. These are the Imperial counterparts, and they, you can see that they have hazard stripes on top, and so that's the way I'm going to bring hazard stripes into my paint scheme. It'll be a similar way, yeah, where it's just like the middle part here will be striped. And I think that'll look pretty cool. I will be using an airbrush for a lot of this. Yeah, the images are... I knew that you could do this, but I didn't know how. So that's I spent a little bit extra time prepping for this stream so that I could bring those images up. And you know, when people ask like, "Oh, what's your reference? What are you kind of working off of?" I can bring those up and show them and explain kind of what I'm going for. Because sometimes it's hard to see what the end product is supposed to look like in the intermediate stages. So I will be using my airbrush in this stream. So you might hear the compressor. Hopefully the compressor isn't too annoying. It's not loud, but it will rumble, and I think it shakes the camera too. But I'll also my voice will be a little bit muffled at times because I'll be wearing a mask. Yeah, because have a relatively small space that I'm working in. I wear a mask just so that I don't get a bunch of paint in my lungs. I'm also going to open a window real quick. All right. So, I've been thinking about how I'm going to attach these smaller bits so that I can work on them. For the larger knight, I used popsicle sticks and sticky tack, but these are kind of small, and I don't think that solution will work. So I think I might just I need to clean these up a little bit more. One thing with these larger models and larger pieces, they do require a little bit of extra cleanup work. But I think I'm just gonna super glue this, something like that. Nothing too fancy, but I think that'll hold, and I think I'll be able to rip it off fairly easily. So I'm gonna go grab some corks real quick. Ooh. All right. I grabbed some. Can snap these on here for now. Some of these bits I still don't know how I'm gonna paint them, but that's okay. And I'm starting with this just so that these have time to set before I work on them. My super glue is not being very cooperative either. That's okay though. Can work around it. The best thing about super glue is it takes relatively no time to set. So you can knock this part out pretty quickly. You don't have to sit here for like an hour holding these together. And all this stuff that I'm super gluing, I'm super gluing it in areas where it won't really show up on the model. So that's an important part of subassembly. A lot of times I'll drill like through the foot because again that'll just be pressed up against the base, so you won't see the drill holes. Similarly, all the places where I'm putting the super glue, which super glue when it hardens, it's very hard to get off, and it'll create a weird texture on the model if you get it on a part of the model that you're not supposed to. So just taking a little bit and thinking about where you put the super glue is pretty important. This one I think I'll do a popsicle stick, actually. Not sure the super glue and cork will hold for that piece in particular. The popsicle stick and sticky tack method is a lot less damaging to the model. It actually doesn't damage the model at all. So that's a benefit of using this. All right. So I already started priming the model, but I am gonna prime the rest of these bits, and I will start. As you can see, there were some parts that I didn't quite get, so I'm gonna start with this guy here, finish him up, so that I can start working on the chassis, and then I'll move on to this bit while the super glue dries, just so that we're efficient with the time. Actually, I'm going to do a little bit of extra cleanup. Sometimes when you prime the model, it shows you some more cleanup that you missed. It like emphasizes some of the areas that need sanding down. I'm just going to take a little bit of time and sand down some of these parts. Additionally, you'll notice that I magnetized this model. If you are thinking of getting, knights, either Chaos or Imperial, I recommend that you magnetize your models. These models are pretty expensive, and there's a lot of different variations. And so magnetizing them just allows you to have all the variants that you could want without having to buy duplicates. And especially for the knights, it's a pretty easy process. So you can see that actually it's covered up. But if I wipe away the primer, you can see you just tack on a magnet on the end of this arm piece, and then you can cut away some of the part on the gun and put a magnet in there, and then they just clip together. Didn't take a lot of work, quite easy to do, and it, as you can see, the magnets are very strong. So similar thing with like the body. Now this one isn't for like a switching between different variants. This is just for like transportation, because they are quite large. You can take them apart and transport them like this, as opposed to one model. Takes up less space. But yeah, those are the main parts that you have to magnetize. Alright, I did a little bit of extra touch-up for like sanding and such. I don't need to do too much. How else do you transport the models? Games Workshop sells carrying cases. I am not sure how especially the big knights, I'm not sure how well those transport in those carrying cases. I don't have them. I usually, the way I do it is I put magnets on the bottom, and I have a box with like a steel plate at the bottom, so that the models magnetize to the bottom of the box. That's the way I do it, and that's the best because it doesn't really matter what size the model is, as long as you put enough magnets on the base. It won't move. You can like hang it upside down and shake it, and they won't fall off. Yeah, for these models, they are quite large, and so likely I will transport them separately, and I'm not actually, I haven't had a need to transport them yet, so I haven't tested it. The biggest model, I don't know how well the magnets will work, but we'll see. It'll be a fun test. I definitely won't start with trying to shake it upside down. That would not be fun if it didn't work. But yeah, even if I do decide to transport it like this, it's nice to have the option to take it off. And if I glued it, I wouldn't have the option anymore. So I decided to go with err on the side of caution. All right, so I am gonna start airbrushing now. Which means I will be putting on my mask. Can you still hear me okay? I know it's probably a little muffled, but cool. I'll just have to speak louder and articulate more.
Man, that takes a really long time to pressurize. I never realized how long it took to pressurize until I was waiting for it to stop. But that was one of the requirements that I had when I was looking for airbrush compressors, was that it would be relatively quiet. I know some people have issues with like their landlords because they keep getting noise complaints with the airbrush compressor. Um, this one is pretty quiet in comparison to other options. All right. One thing that's pretty important when you're working with an airbrush is that you want to make sure that you clean it out pretty frequently. I usually just run water through it if I'm switching between colors, but when you're done with like a surface primer like this, I like to use the airbrush cleaner as well, because the primer has particularly large like pigment size and is generally thicker, and so it can clog up your airbrush pretty easily. So yeah, I take particular care cleaning out my airbrush after I use a primer. Alright, these pieces here, I think should be good to start airbrushing as well. It seems they're pretty solid on there. Alright. So now that we have a base prime of black down, for most of the chassis, it'll be a silver-ish color. I'll bring back out the image so that you can see what I'm talking about.
But this is, you can see that like 90% of the model underneath the armor plating is a dark silver color. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to base coat the whole thing again with the airbrush with this lead belcher color. And then I'm going to apply a shade to it, like Nuln Oil. And then we can, dry brush back in some lead belcher and something like a very bright silver as a highlight. And that's just like a really easy way to get like 90% of the model painted. However, 90% of the work will be done on the armor plating. So the time that we save in this step is just transferred to another step. All right.
Now, additionally, one thing that you can do is, because it's already primed black, when you're airbrushing, only airbrush from an upwards direction, and this will make it so that the bottom part of the model stays black. And that helps with the darker silver look and with just shadows in general. Alright.
This is where it'll get a little bit it'll be a little bit more tricky. So with this piece, it is going to be broken down into many different colors. So the front half of the shoulder pads on both sides will be blue. The back half will be black. The side of the middle piece will be blue. And the middle of the middle piece will be hazard stripes. So, I think I'm going to start with blue. And I'll start by masking off everything that won't be blue. And we'll start there.
I hope to get at least most of the airbrushing done today, and then next week I can go and start doing like the brushwork and the trim on stream. If there's any airbrushing I don't get done today, I'll either do it, you know, before the next stream, or I might decide to do it, you know, on stream if it's a significant amount. Essentially, I hope to show how I airbrush all of the different parts of the model. So if the work that I have to do before next stream is just more of the same, I won't worry about showing that on stream because you've already seen it. But if there's something new that I haven't shown on stream, then I'll show it on the next stream. For the middle part, I'm going to start with some like masking tape and just mask off the sides so that I get a nice clean line. Alright. Seems like the little bird friend on top is going to break off. That's no good. I'll have to glue that down better. Now with the putty on top of the masking tape, it doesn't have to cover all of the masking tape, but you definitely want to make sure it doesn't go over. Because then it'll be running into the place where we do want the airbrush to hit. Shoot. I'm just using a little bit of super glue on my bird friend. Don't want him to get don't want him to fall off.
All right. As for the knee pads and the leg guards, what happened here? That's weird. Never had that happen before. We'll have to go over that again with the airbrush. There's like a giant pool of primer. For the leg guards and such, I think I'm only going to make them one color. So I'll bring up my reference again. You can see that like the knee pad is just black, but the leg guards are split blue and black. I could do that. Maybe I will. It is kind of a staple look of the knights, is to have the split colored armor plating. So yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and do that. Just to keep it unique and interesting from other models. But like the this armor plate with the tabard hanging off, it'll just be black. No need to split that. Same thing with the knee guards. So the lead belcher that I sprayed on earlier is mostly dry. So I can go ahead and move on to the next step for the chassis, which will be applying
Applying the shade. Shades are fun through an airbrush because they work really well at just their base consistency going through the airbrush. So you don't really need to dilute them or anything. And they apply very smoothly. any places where you might have gotten too much, you can just come in with a brush and touch them up a little bit. All right.
So next, I'm gonna come in with the blue, and I'm gonna apply the blue paint in a nice gradient. The blues that I use are the darkest one is Cantor blue, and then I do a Lightalk blue. And finally, I do like do Baharoth blue. I think I'm gonna do these three here. Cantor blue, Teclis blue, and Baharoth blue. And then over the whole thing, I do this Azurman blue. And so these three make up the gradient. And then when I apply this one, it's the contrast paint. It smooths everything out a little bit and brings it all together.
So one thing when you're painting, when you're using normal paints through an airbrush, is you have to make sure to dilute them a lot. So I'm using contrast medium to dilute them. Ooh. Well, this paint is dead. Okay, I have another one. I knew this was going to happen. It's good to have backup paints for paints that you know are older, you know are on the way out. So yeah, we're starting with just a overall coat of this Cantor blue, just to make sure everything's at the base level. Yeah, everything at the base level is blue. And for the gradient, I'm going to be moving up this way, getting brighter. And I'm going to be moving in this way so that this middle part is brighter. One way to get smoother blends is to leave some of the old paint in the airbrush when you're switching paints. So that way you're creating almost an intermediate color. When the new paint comes in. Right now I'm just spraying air. And this is to help the paint set a little bit. So you can see that with the airbrush, you get some really nice gradients very easily. Just because of how small the like the particle size is of each of the paint droplets. And there you go. That's the blue gradient done. Yeah, the next part will just be actually I'm actually I think I'm gonna go a little bit brighter here. So that last color I applied was a mix between the Techless blue and the Baharat blue. So now I'm just gonna do pure Techless blue sorry, pure Baharat blue. Just to make sure that maintain a level of brightness. After I apply the glaze. All right. So now we're going to come in with the glaze here. And we are again diluting it, but for a different reason this time. For the base paints, we were diluting them so that they would go through the airbrush smoothly. For contrast paint, it already goes through the airbrush smoothly, but we want it to be less vibrant. less dark, essentially, more transparent. And so we are diluting it so that more of our gradient shows through. We just want essentially a filter to bring all the colors together, make it a bit more blue, and smooth out our transitions. Alright, so you can see it knocked back the colors a little bit, but also it brought everything together and made all the transitions even more smooth. Also, because of how vibrant and pigmented the contrast paint is, it looks more blue than it did before. And so you should be able to see the... Hold on while I grab the model I already did. Should be able to see the similarity between the two models. And this is what we're going for here. We're trying to make sure that they look like they're all from the same army. So there you go.
Alright. So now let's take off our masking, see how we did. It's not too bad. Masking is rarely ever perfect. A lot of the stuff that I got paint on, I don't really care about because I'm going to be painting over it in the very near future. So, yeah, it's looking good. See the middle part. Cool, we can peel back the masking tape. Should have didn't really work in the middle there. It's not really an even surface, so it's unfortunate, but should be alright. I think I'll come in with a brush and clean up some of these lines here. Hey Will, how's it going? Do I have to add Twitch emotes to my chat? I didn't realize I had to do that. They aren't all automatically uploaded? Seven TV, alright. I'll have to get on that. That's very important as a streamer, that I have farm turtles. But yeah, I'm working on a smaller version of the large knight that I painted, and that I got a honorable mention for. For real. Sadly, this one won't be for a painting contest, but I will still be painting it up. Or try to paint it up as best I can. Sadly, I think I'm gonna have to redo this this airbrush work that I did. I messed up on the masking, and so you can see it like dips out here. And sadly, the only way for me to fix that is to just mask it all up and try again. Because I can't get these gradients by hand. Then we're gonna have to come back in with an airbrush. All good though. Part of the process. I debated just leaving it, but I looked at it for a bit and was like, nah, it doesn't look good. The hardest part is that the model itself is curved and the pieces of tape are straight. So I think I'm just gonna have to go with multiple pieces of tape. Yeah, it kind of sucks that I have to like redo the gradient because of this little strip right here. But it is what it is. Luckily, I think I'm only gonna have to redo this side and only the back half of this side.
Cool. So again, just using some Tantor blue here to start. And we have to dilute it because it's a base paint going through an airbrush. Now I'm just going to redo the whole thing. So then we can keep a little bit of the color in the pot and come in with our second color. Keeping a little bit of the color in there helps with the transitions. We love some good smooth transitions. Alright, and then same thing with the last color. So you can see that, like with the airbrush, it's very, very quick and very consistent to get nice smooth gradients, which is very fun. I enjoy using the airbrush to get these kinds of effects. Alright, so there we have a lot cleaner line. And a nice cool like racing stripe down the middle.
So we can set this piece aside for now. We're gonna let that sit for a bit just so that all the paint dries fully before we move on to the rest of it. And that's important because for this piece, I'm going to be airbrushing the middle and the backs of the shoulder pads. So I'll have to mask off the blue that I've already done so that I don't get any overspray onto it. So yeah, before you mask anything, you have to make sure that the paint is dried fully.
In the meantime,
I need to find my texture palette. Which I very nicely hid from myself right before the stream. Good job. All good?
found it. Because the next step is going to be dry brushing.
So you can see here that we have this dark metal base applied, and this is just lead belcher with some Nuln Oil applied over it. And so the next step is to bring back out some of the silver color that was muted with the Nuln Oil, but we only want to bring out the silver color in the kind of the raised areas of the model. We don't want the recesses to be shiny, because those are in shadow. So we use dry brushing here to pick out the raised areas and bring back some of that shine. So you can see that not only does it bring back some of the shine, but it also picks out some of the details, because you're kind of yeah, you're just highlighting all the edges, so the details tend to stand out a bit better. Alright. Now we can come in and do the legs with the same strategy. All right. So there we go. We have a nice silver base for our mech. This won't be the only metallic color that we have here. Some of these other parts I'll paint like a bronze color. You can see like the ends of these pistons maybe. And such will be painted like a copper color. But yeah, this is most of what it'll look like. Additionally, I am going to do some further highlighting, and that'll get done with this Runefang steel. It's a very, very bright silver that works well as a highlight. You can see before I was going very heavy with both the amount of paint that was on the brush and like the brush strokes that I was doing. This will be a lot more subtle. And I'll be mostly doing a downward motion with the brush to make sure that I hit the upward facing edges. Just gives the model a little bit extra shine. Alright, I am coming towards the end of my stream, and I was hoping to get to some of the, like, I was hoping to do all of the airbrushing on this stream, but maybe that was a little bit ambitious. I think I will do I'll do the hazard stripes on stream next week, and I will in the meantime I will finish up some of the airbrushing that's the same as stuff I've already showed. So for example, these knee guards or these leg guards will be split half black, half blue. So it'll be the same process as I did here, especially with the shoulder pads. So you probably don't need to see more of that. But doing the hazard stripes down the middle here, I will show next week on stream, so that you guys can see it. I've also been thinking, so they have like these little armor plates here on the feet. I was thinking I would do hazard stripes on those too, but that might be a little bit difficult. We'll see. It depends on if I want to, because I'll probably just have to redo the feet. So it'll depend on if I want to do that. But that'll help match the aesthetic of this guy, where you can see that he has, hazard stripes on his legs and on his head. It creates like a triangle of stripes. It'll be a similar idea here. For these knee pads, I think I was thinking about, so I will be doing them, gray. Trying to decide what kind of gray. Last time I did like a bluish gray. Something like this. We'll have to see if the knee pad, if it'll work on the knee pad. Oh. I did not clean out my airbrush. That's no good. Seems to be okay though. I'll just have to do a little bit of extra cleaning. All right. Yeah, so the colors I'm working with are like a, you can see it's like a bluish gray. And then I usually do a glaze of black over it so that it's, so that it looks black and not, well, bluish gray. See if I can do these kneecaps really quick before the end of the stream.
I am going to run a little bit over, but that's okay because I did start a few minutes late, so not too crazy. Alright, so just like the blue, you can see that there's a nice gradient here from black to like a light bluish gray. This time though, instead of doing blue on top, we're going to be using black. And we're using black ink. We use ink because it's more transparent while still being very highly pigmented, kind of like contrast paint. The important thing though is just to get the proper dilution. Because otherwise it'll just be black. And it'll get rid of the gradient that we did. I might have gone a bit too dark there, but we'll see. We'll see how it looks when it dries. If not, I'll have to redo it next stream.
All right, I think I'm gonna end it here. Thanks everyone for hanging out, and yeah, I'll see you next week.